It's Monday, August 20th, 2012, and let's talk about what happened this weekend over at XDADevelopers.com. First things first, some Jelly Bean updates. ASUS, the company behind the Nexus 7, who is largely committed to rolling out timely updates, has done it again. They have started rolling out Jelly Bean version 4.1 to their TF300T tablet. And they've also confirmed in the past that they will be rolling it out to the TF101, the Prime, and the Infinity. So, I mean, it is very impressive that they will continue to roll this out to their devices, even if they are just a little bit older. And speaking of rolling out newer versions of software, if you haven't heard already, CyanogenMod 10 Nightlies are now available for a few devices. Those devices include the US Samsung Galaxy S3 variants, including the Verizon version, assuming you have the insecure bootloader, the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, the Nexus S, the Nexus 7, although it says that the Nexus 7 might be non-functional at this point, so do make sure to read up before trying it, the Transformer Prime, the Samsung Galaxy S1 models, the Samsung Galaxy S2 models, at least the i9100G, and the P3 and P5 tablets. Now that's not to say that they're all wonderful and fully functional or anything, they are still nightly builds, but if you are just dying to get your hands on CM10 for your device, and your device is one of those that I listed just a minute ago, you may want to go take a look at their site. Now, one company that a lot of us at XDA have had problems with over the last few years is Motorola. I kind of hate to say that because I had a Motorola phone for about a year and a half, and it worked fine. It was very well built. But in terms of community and development, they're not on our side. Well, it looks like they're pulling a page from HTC's book, and they're releasing a tool and a website that's sort of like the HTC Dev website and the associated tool, where essentially if you have the Android SDK, the Motorola drivers, and you go to this website and put in all the information about your device, you can get an unlock token and then push that through to it. Now currently there's only about 4 devices supported. That's the Photon Q, which I think is Sprint, the Wi-Fi Zoom, the Verizon Zoom, and the developer version of the Droid Razr. So not exactly a plethora of devices, but it is definitely a start, and it is something that as a community we probably ought to be applauding. However, I will applaud a little bit more when I see a laundry list of devices on there instead of just a handful. One way or another, like I said, it is a good step in the right direction. Now, I mentioned earlier the Nexus 7. If you have the Nexus 7 and you haven't done much to it, you may want to take a look at what I found from this next article. XDA senior member and recognized developer mskip has created an all-in-one toolkit for the Nexus 7. It includes a one-click root, the ability to install and uninstall the Nexus 7 drivers. You can back up and restore using ADB. You can unlock and lock the bootloader, flash images to the device. Realistically, a lot of different things. I'm not going to go through the entire list. Feel free to read the article, look at the thread, all of that fun stuff if you have the Nexus 7 and you are interested in learning more about it. And the last article I thought I would talk about is talking about Android and where the market share is actually coming from. It sort of centers around the latest statistics coming out of Gartner, which is an industry standard in terms of statistic reporting, and it shows the differences between 2011 and 2012 and the market share that was sort of associated with each of the vendors. And while a lot of people are probably thinking that iOS has lost share because Android is getting so much bigger, haha, iOS is losing, not exactly the case. It says in the second quarter of 2011 and second quarter of 2012, iOS was right about the same place, at about 18-point-something%, whereas the Android operating system has gone from 43% to 64% in just 1 year. And as you can see there's a lot of things there that don't quite add up, but that's because there are so many other OSs, mobile OSs, on the marketplace. And the largest losers in this aspect, the ones who actually lost the most in terms of percentage, were Symbian and RIM. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't believe there are actually any Symbian devices that are still being produced. Do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that Nokia went out of the business of that. And RIM, well, RIM's just had a really hard year. But Symbian dropped from about 22% of the market to about 6%, and RIM dropped from about 11.5% to about 5%. So definitely 2 big losses there. And when you put on top of that the total number of devices that are in the market went significantly up, a large part of that growth just comes from natural growth, new people entering the market and their first device being an Android device. And just to quickly point out here, I noticed that Microsoft's mobile OS had a little bit of growth as well. It went from about 1.5% to about 2.5%, almost 3%, which while it's not toppling anything else over, that's still growth. I honestly didn't think that Microsoft's mobile OS was growing at all, especially with the Windows Phone 8 announcements and basically saying Windows Phone 7 and previous can just go screw itself. So essentially lots and lots of good information there. If you want to read more about it, do head on over to the website. I'll have a link to that down in the video description as well. And the last thing to mention, if you haven't seen it already, our own XDA TV administrator Jimmy posted a video this weekend showing off the Meizu MX. MX and giving his full review of the device. I'll have a link to that and all of the other things I talked about down in the video description, and anything I didn't get a chance to talk about you can always find over on XDADevelopers.com. That's all from me for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below if you like this content, and subscribe up above if you want to be notified when we put out new content, as long as YouTube's system is not completely borked. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.